The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the member for Chifley.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. Well, the fraud ban tour de farce has rolled back into town. Last week, regional members were kicking it along, and this week we've got the member for Banks at the wheel. I would have said that they'd rolled it out, but they haven't been able to demonstrate as a government their capacity to roll anything out, so it seems quite wrong to use that phrase in relation to anything that they do. But what they are rolling out is the same old untruths and falsehoods, and it rests on three claims: that they would do things differently, they do it in less time, and they do it at less cost. And on all three claims, just wrong. And the reason I say when they claim they'll do it differently that is a wrong claim, they're not doing anything different to what they'd done previously. Rely on copper. And every time they relied on copper, they failed. They failed 20 times before, and we're getting ready for failure 21. In terms of the less time, they said they went to election actually saying that we would have two different versions. Our version would be delivered by 2021, theirs by 2019. 2 years difference. In terms of the target, we said 93% of premises connected by fibre to the premises. Under them, 30% of that 93% will be connected by HFC, which anyone who's used HFC knows that the best thing that they can see about HFC is a day when they don't use it. 44% will get it via the node and 26% will get it fibre to the premises. Copper is their crutch. They're already found wanting. Ziggy Switkowski, their chairperson's already saying they're going to have to upgrade copper, but what we're cheering about here today from those opposite is slower speeds delivered a year quicker at $1 billion less difference with less bang for the buck. The claim that it'd be $73 billion in cost, all they've done is inflate the cost number by changing the assumptions, which is a tactic that they always do. For example, too, when they say that it's going to cost residents and households more, as the member for Ryan just carried on with that canard, well, the current NBN retail prices are comparable to other forms of broadband, and NBN Co's locked in the prices to mirror inflation. But what wasn't mentioned by those opposite is that the people in the regional areas under their model will pay way more than the urban area because of the changes that the coalition's made. And the residents, and the other claim is residents don't want 1 gigabit per second and that there's no other network. This is what the ministers claim. No other network in the world's been made at that speed. Wrong. Actually, the Shadow Minister and I visited a network that is being developed for 1 gigabit per second. It's being developed by Google in various parts of the United States, where people are seeing transformations in regional areas because of the fact that they have got a strong broadband network. Now, I took a tour through the member for Banks' electorate to just to get a sense of broadband quality in his area via my broadband.communications.gov.au, and when it rates the accessibility and quality of broadband in his area, I don't think there's a lot to be proud of. And if he was fair income, he'd be championing his people's interest, not trying to get brownie points from an out-of-touch PM in the way that he has. You look at 12 suburbs in his electorate, the bulk of them, while some of them may have great ADSL access, the lot of them, apart from 2 places, have terrible speeds. And in fact, some of the worst places, like Padstow Heights, get 3 megabits per second, and yet all he's championing today, the member for Banks, is slowing down the rate or the ability to actually help those suburbs. And when people actually quiz Malcolm Turnbull on Twitter, in fact, one Padstow person quizzed him about it, he said he abused him and in fact said, is it fair the city gets higher speeds than the bush? Well, it's interesting because the response was from Padstow residents, FTTP isn't just about speed, it's also about reliability. And right now, every time it rains, you lose both phone and internet in Padstow. And this is what the member for Banks is championing. And when people were giving him chip back, the Minister for Communications chipped them via Twitter by saying, you don't care what it costs, do you? You want it and you want everyone else to pay for it. Seems pretty selfish for me. I wonder if he's using that argument about PPL in the Cabinet room. But at any rate, people in the member for Banks area, like for example real estate agents in Oatley, talking about whether or not the access is good enough in prospective homes, indicates that people in the member for Banks area want a better NBN, not a nastier, slower dud of an NBN. They want broadband, they don't want fraudband.